Good afternoon. My name is Gillian Balaban and I am Governance and Board Liaison Governance Team at GRI. Welcome to this meeting of the Global Sustainability Standards Board, no by its acronym, the GSSB, held on 16 July 2026. This virtual meeting is being hosted from Amsterdam, the Netherlands. Please note that all public GSSB meetings are being recorded, and you can find the audio recording on the GSSB meeting webpage, along with high-level summaries of previous GSSB meetings. Present from the GRI Secretariat today are Bastian Buck, Chief of Standards, Helke Boutrago, Director Standard Sector Standards, Izzy Ensor, Manager Standards, Harold Powell, Director Standards, and Natalia Uribe, Manager Standards. I'll now start the roll call. Anna Nefedova.
Present.
Anne Lindsay.
Present.
Charles Chu.
Present.
Chalundra De Silva.
Present.
Deborah Ing.
Present.
Felipe Martinez Rodriguez.
Present.
Galia Tsunkova.
Present.
Isadora Diaz Heredia.
Present.
Jeff Robertson.
Present.
Thank you. Rebecca Coriat. Rebecca's on the line, but we just can't hear her for the moment. Tomu Machiba.
Hi, present.
Yan Dong.
Present.
GSSB Chair Suzanne Stormer.
Present.
Thank you, everyone. GSSB members Igazuma Okoroba and Susanna Muscat-Gorska sent their apologies. And I will now hand over to the Chair, Suzanne Stormer, to open the meeting.
Thank you so much, Gillian. And welcome to all of my GSSB colleagues and to those of you who may be listening in to this session online. So let's start with our agenda. So for this agenda, we have our usual housekeeping with approval of the draft summary of the previous meeting held on 1st and 2nd June this year, and then to review the action points and to have an update on the policy submissions. After that, we have an approval for two topic standards on employment and remuneration and working time, and also an approval of the project proposal for the compact sector standards. This would be our final approval of this project. And finally, as usual, any of other business arising, and then we close the public session and go into private session. So let's move on with the approval of the draft summary of our most recent meeting held on the 1st and 2nd of June. Would there be any comments, additions, objections, edits? I see none. Can we have an approval of the summary? So we see nodding and no objections, so we consider it approved. Thank you to the minute taker for capturing the discussions in that meeting. To the action register, I would invite Bastian to walk us through where we are on the standing actions, please.
Yes, thank you, Susan. I think in addition to what was shared at the last meeting, I just wanted to highlight that everything that pertains to updates of policy-related work is something we're discussing with the policy team, and we're advancing together with them. there's been a change in leadership in this team and also reconfiguration of the team, but we will be coming back with follow-up to the GSSB, and I hope after the northern summer in September, I can give a specific indication for that. In terms of maybe the other thing just to highlight, because it was a follow-up from a recent meeting, and that is to look at the learnings from the alignment project, in particular for the sectors. That's something we're bringing together, and we will share out also when we have updated the project schedules, when the next alignment project takes place. So we have a bit more time, but we're documenting this, and we will bring that forward as part of the approvals for the moment in time that we start the next alignment project, where we'll of course have on the schedule four more actually, sector standards for approval later in the year. And then the next alignment project across everything we do will have to be following in line with the effective date. I think these were the main updates from my end.
Thank you so much. And I presume that also covers what we have in writing in the slides regarding the
yeah, we can maybe
policy.
move through this.
Should we?
Yeah,
Should we
yeah,
just
that
take
covers
that
all
one? Yeah.
Jill, do you want to move? I can speak quickly to the policy submissions then as well.
Yes.
So as you know, we will always look to take part in public consultations that in key jurisdictions and where we see opportunity to position the GRI standards. I think it's also fair to say that we're building very strongly on work that we've done to showcase how even in a voluntary setting, there's significant uptake of the GRI standards in most of these jurisdictions. And this is an example for that with the Malaysian consultation that we've brought forward. And the policy team is preparing these submissions together with technical input from the standards team. You will see that there are a couple of more consultations coming up in the remainder of the year. What generally I think is the situation that now we're becoming more specific about amendments to well, in this case it's a company act, but the regulations that pertain to capital market players, and GI is responding in this context wherever possible public, and where we can make a private input, because the process is happening through stakeholder meetings or so on. We will do that as well. Yeah, and we had also a specific submission in regard to the follow-up of the GBF target 15. That's something that we've provided more recently. We can both responses are non-public, but if colleagues are interested, we can of course always share them with you.
Thank you. Thank you for this update. And obviously lots of things going on here. And just a reminder to everyone on the GSSB, I presume that you have one that you have received, but also that you've consulted and hopefully are using as much as you possibly can the most recent report on the state of sustainability reporting. There's lots of really, really interesting insights, statistics, and other information that is useful in your respective roles for outreach. So a great job done to the team who provided that research. So with that, let's move on and invite Izzy Ensor and Harold Powells to present to us the two topic standards for labor for GSSB approval, hopefully. So please take it away, Harold and Izzy.
Thank you very much, Suzanne, and board chair. And yes, as part of the decision making today, and hopefully your approval at the end of the final GRI 104 and GRI 105, which were distributed to you, including with the basis for conclusions. We also, like we did in the last meeting and the previous board meeting for the other two labor standards, also for these two standards, we want to summarize the key themes that emerged during the PCP, the public commenting period, and explain how these comments have been dealt with or have been informed of final drafts which have been sent to you for approval. I can say, so like last time, Izzy will take you through it as project lead. Natalia is also online in case we want to answer specific questions, because the entire team, including Madhu, including Bianca, so Laura's team, worked on the finalization of the standards and also made sure that it's aligned with the sector standards we are finalizing. So great job from them. But overall, on the consultation, we can say that it demonstrated broad support for the standards, the draft standards, and the stakeholders from the different jurisdictions, different stakeholder groups really welcomed the proposed direction, and view that these standards have some very strong new elements in there, strengthening transparency on employment, remuneration, and working time, and also strengthens bringing information to the table which help decision makers to take stronger decisions. The feedback, and Izzy will walk you through, is typically focusing on clarifying the requirements, was focusing on that, strengthening the guidance in our standards, aligning with the international, the ILO labor standards. That was one of the things the GSSB asked us, of course, to do, to make sure it's aligned with authoritative references, and also make sure that the reporting requirements, which we have in the standard and we updated and we renewed, are practical and also proportional to implement, as we discussed also in previous meetings. So we will go through the standards. After that, we go to, you will go through the approval, or at least Bastian and Suzanne, process, and we will also come back to the discussion about the effective dates and how it relates to the labor standards and the sector standards. So I would like to give the floor to Izzy to walk you through the 104 and the 105.
Thank you, Harold.
Okay, can we go to the next slide? Yeah, this is the session outline which Harold has just explained about what we're going to include in the labour project in this labour session. And if we go to the next slide, I presented this last month, but just to reiterate, the objectives of the labour project is to update the labour standards with internationally agreed best practices, authoritative intergovernmental instruments, and also to reflect our stakeholders' expectations revolving labour impacts. Next slide. Yep, we have a unique a technical committee and an advisory.
So we can wait for we lost you for a second, Izzy, but let's try again.
Am I back? Yep, I'll remove my video. And the international unions as well. So if we go to the next slide. So now we're presenting the two standards, employment and remediation and working time. And they are from the employment practices and conditions phase. And on the right side of the table, you'll see which approximately existing labour standards these are parallel to. If we go to the next slide, sorry. So we're asking for your approval this month in July 2026. Last month, we presented significant changes for workers and working parents and caregivers back in June 2026. And then looking onwards, we hope to present the diversity and equal opportunity and the non-discrimination drafts in 2026. And the other remaining 5 standards and 6 documents in total will be presented in 2027. If we go to the next slide. I'll quickly go through what the employment standard contains, and it is our biggest standard and the most sort of comprehensive. Disclosure 401 covers employment arrangements, and this covers any sort of diverse forms of employment outside the typical permanent full-time employer-employee relationship. Then we have 402, which is discloses the practices on apprenticeships and internships. The next one is it's a misprint, and it should be recruitment practices, and this is the monitoring of direct and indirect recruitment to ensure that it aligns with fair recruitment principles. 104.4, it concerns performance management, and this is particularly important as it's sort of a precursor for lifelong learning and employability skills, which is sort of essential for workers navigating these changing climates. 104.5 concerns data protection and privacy of workers, and it focuses on the collection, sharing, and the monitoring of workers and how consent is obtained. And 104.6 is termination policies, and it's asking organisations to report that their termination policies are in line with the ILO conventions and recommendations on termination. If we go to the next slide. So 104.7 is about new hires, including internal recruitment, and it's disaggregated by areas such as gender, employee category, employee type, and age. It also covers turnover, but specifically voluntary turnover, and asks the organisation to report these by region. If we go to the same slide. 104.8 and 104.10 I'll take together, and they're regarding incidences in recruitment and employment arrangements, but also incidences in data protection and privacy. And these ask organisations to report on how incidents are dealt with a division between judicial and non-judicial proceedings, and also incidences found by the organisation themselves. Going back to 104.9, it focuses on performance reviews, especially the percentage and number that have received performance reviews within the organisation. Yep. So if we go to the next slide. I've put key areas of feedback. There was a lot of different areas, but I've put here the overarching themes. One was the employee and non-employee worker distinction, and the discussion was really around the first disclosure of employment relationships, about sort of what constitutes an employee and non-employee. It's important to note that GRI has the term non-employee worker, meaning worker whose work is controlled by the organisation, but they're not an employee. So that meant we had to fundamentally change the way that we approached employment relationships to ensure that there was clarity regarding this. Second point, and we got a lot of feedback, and we're still getting feedback on this now, is regarding digitalization, AI, and algorithms. And that is sort of throughout the standards. So we've included guidance on how to report AI and algorithm in recruitment, performance management, and termination when these tools are used. And also in regards to this, AI and algorithms having a bias in them that can lead to discrimination. This, by the way, is being picked up in the non-discrimination standard, where we'll cover that aspect of the use of AI and algorithms. We had a lot of questions regarding appeals, grievance mechanisms, and access to remedy, which we've added in throughout the standard. This is especially for areas such as recruitment or recruitment or internships where we want to be very clear that these type of workers can access grievance mechanisms. And we had a lot of feedback on both sides actually regarding feasibility of reporting and disaggregation of data. So it caused us to kind of review every data point and see whether it was feasible, manageable and realistic with the TC. It also meant us to kind of standardize it, so not create confusion for the reader in reporting it. And we really sort of centraled on which data points could be collected as basic payroll data. So for example, age, gender, type of contract, employee category are all things that would be expected to be collected on the payroll data. So we really tried to make sure that none of data collected fell outside of this. When it did, especially for non-employee workers, we provided extra guidance on how an organisation could report this. The reporting of incidences it was also a disclosure that we fundamentally changed how we approached it after the PCP, and this was based on feedback that it would be more interesting reporting and more provide more insights if the organisation would report on incidences through the judicial and non-judicial process separately from those ones found within the organisation themselves from their own systems. So that was the approach taken. And finally, the recruitment fees. This came up very strongly within the with our public comments, where the feedback was that we needed to have more detailed requirements regarding this. So the changes were that we've included a requirement explicitly stating if the employee or non-employee worker has paid recruitment fees and how the organisation monitors recruitment fees and how do they process it. So this came as a very strong feedback suggestion. If we go to the next slide. So now I'm going to go on to the remuneration and working time. And this is we used an existing disclosure, but this is a new standard created for this project as a reminder that the TC thought that this is a very important area that needed its own standalone standard for. So the first one is about remuneration policies, asking the organisation to report how remuneration is decided and how it is applied. Working time policies ask the organisations to detail the working time policies, including hours of work, location of work, any flexible working time arrangements, and then any provisions that it may have for vulnerable workers, but also young workers and pregnant and nursing workers who, under the ILO, have some international conventions regarding their working hours. And 1053 is about the transparency of remuneration and working time. And it very explicitly states that how the organisation ensures that the workers fully understand and consent to the remuneration and working time. That this is very transparent in the recruitment and then in the work itself. So this is the disclosure. If I move to the topic disclosures, we have 1054, which heavily focuses on cost of living estimates and how workers are paid against those. And cost of living is essentially an estimate where of what should be paid at or collective bargaining agreements. We have the gender pay gap, which asks organisations to report the differences in pay between men workers and female workers within the organisation. We have 106, which is social protection coverage, which asks the organisation to report what social protections it contributes to, and in cases of none or very minimal social protection provided by the competent authorities, does the organisation step in and provide it as an additional benefit, for example, health insurance, retirement, areas like that. And then finally, you have 1057, which regards working time, where we ask organisations to report on working time, and key areas is excessive hours of work, so beyond the 48 hours of work set by the ILO. It also includes working time arrangements provided to non-guaranteed hour employees, for example, because this has a great impact on their work-life balance. So that disclosure covers that. We go to the next slide. So key areas of feedback, again, is the non-employee workers. And this includes of what data is accessible and how to approach it. So this was continuously reviewed throughout this disclosure, the standard, where we looked at non-employee workers and what is feasible for reporting for them. Methodologies for calculating cost of living estimates was discussed. There's many third-party living wages estimates, and there's many different incentives. So a lot of feedback came back, and ultimately we went back to the ILO methodology, which has a few fundamental principles, which also includes that any cost of living estimate should include consultation with worker representatives during the process. Another area of feedback is basic pay and how to report that. We had so based on the feedback, we really changed the approach of it and we simplified it. I think the respondents found it quite confusing. So we simplified it and made it for the organisation to report. The gender pay gap and formula and components has been revised and edited and made it more clear in the clarity and guidance, because there was a lot of feedback stating that there was a bit of confusion of what was being required then. And finally, the social protection coverage was revised to make it clearer and more understandable for organisations to report, and to try and again make it simplified. But again, we had very positive feedback regarding this, but a lot of feedback was regarding the details and the guidance and what is expected to be reported from these. I'm going to stop here and ask if there's any questions.
That seems not to be the case. It's good to hear that you know how you've taken on board the various feedback provided, and also where several competing methodologies exist. So so you said you went for the ILO on the cost of living.
Yeah, Natalia, someone I can answer this one. Yes, so we went back to the ILO principles. So it's not exactly a methodology, because we didn't want to prescribe a methodology, because there's each region and each has its own context. I mean, I'll give you an example: heating fuel. Some regions that is not a factor you need to include, other places it is. But we really didn't want to prescribe a specific methodology, but make sure the approach is in line with the ILO principles, which you know, and has a strong emphasis on worker representatives' involvement, that they should be part of this process because they hold valuable information, rather than a sort of external person coming and making great calculations, but they're not very relevant to what's on the ground.
Right. Thank you. No other
Suzanne,
questions? Yes.
Suzanne, this is Gillian. Tomu and Isadora have their hands up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Tomu is first.
Yes. Thank you so much for keeping a vigilant eye. So, Tomo, please.
Hi, Izzy. Thank you so much for your great work. And my point is quite minor, brief one. And you added quite a number of the glossary terms, which is really good, but also removed a few terms. So can you explain the reason behind removing a few terms?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for the compliment, but I also have to congratulate Natalia, who worked extremely hard on this project as well, so I can't take it all. And back to the glossary terms. So we revised some glossary terms that may have been sort of out of date and not useful anymore according to GRI system. For example, they're only mentioned in one standard. So that's how we've edited. So we've added in employee type, which, because we use it constantly throughout the standards. We've also made a range modifications to existing standards like basic pay and remuneration, and that is just because it was no longer fit for purpose. So for example, basic pay, we wanted to include those who are maybe on an hourly wage and those who are salaried, to make sure it's as applicable as possible.
Thank you. Isidora?
Hi, same comment. Izzy and Natalia, congratulations. I think it's a very good approach. I think it's the approach non-prescriptive and flexible enough to allow contextual modification. My point is also very minor. It refers to the definition of employee versus non-employee worker, because I noticed that in some part we refer to non-employee worker with a distinction between work control and work not control. However, in other cases, it seems that the term non-employee worker refers only to work that is controlled by the organization. I truly believe that for readers that want to understand, they will understand, but I think there is something about the non-mutual exclusive definitions in the glossary that maybe can be tweaked. It's just a minor comment.
Okay, thank you for the feedback.
And Anne?
Just a quickie from me to say, I think a huge well done to the Secretariat and also to the technical teams and the advisory group, because I think we all are cognizant of how much the world of work and the experience of labour practices have changed since 2016. And I think you've produced a very solid and comprehensive approach to try and help organisations negotiate that more effectively and disclose their practices. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I actually also have a very minor comment, and maybe it's more of a question. It says somewhere where it lists people who leave the organization, where it has a listing, and then it said or died in service, and I was just wondering if we would want to have a cross-reference to fatalities being reported likely elsewhere or under health and safety issues. So just a minor thing.
So just speaking very briefly on it, from what I understand, it's slightly a different data point, but we definitely take in your feedback regarding the terminology itself, and it can be revised because it comes from an existing GRI definition. So we'll make sure that the terminology, we can slightly change the definition and how in the guidance, so to make sure it's very clear, like it's two separate
right
points.
It was just that in the context, when you list why people leave, then of course, yes, if they do die in service, that is also to be recorded. But yeah, thank you so much. So with that, can we proceed to the approval?
Yes.
So before we do, and thank you for the thumbs up from everyone. So that's a very strong signal. Thank you so much. I have to ask Bastian, in your role as Chief of Standards, what is your view on whether the due process has been met on the development of specifically the first GRI 104 Employment 2027?
Thank you, Suzanne. So from my end, I can confirm that the topic standard has moved through all the relevant process steps, the project identification and prioritization, the project commencement, the appointment of an expert group, in this case, a technical committee, the development of proposed standards, the public exposure, and as we've just heard from Harold and Izzy, also the consideration of respondent comments on the exposure draft. We had also all the necessary interaction with the board, GI board, the supervisory board that is, and the stakeholder council. And so from the standards team perspective, I can confirm that due process has been followed for these steps.
And then I need to formally ask the GSSB members to vote for everyone if you agree that this standard should be approved. And we will ask Jill to have a roll call of members one by one.
Thank you, Suzanne. May I please ask that you approve the GRI 104 Employment 2027? Anna Nefedova.
I approve.
Thank you. Anne Lindsay.
Approved.
Charles Chu.
Approve.
Charles?
Yeah, I said approve.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry, I didn't hear it. So, thank you. Chilandra De Silva.
Approved.
Deborah Ing.
I approve.
Felipe Martinez Rodriguez.
Yes, I approve.
Isadora Diaz Heredia.
Yes, approved.
Jeff Robertson.
Approve.
Thank you. Rebecca Coriat.
Yes, I approve.
Suzanne Stormer.
I approve.
Tomu Machiba.
I approve.
And Yang Dong.
Yes, I approve.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And then same procedure for the other one, GRI 105. Oh, sorry. So I need to ask also, apologies for that. I need to ask you, Bastian, are there any significant changes between the exposure draft and the final approved standard that would require a re-exposure?
No, upon review, there are no significant changes that would require re-exposure at this stage.
And with that information, we need to ask the GSSB members again to vote if you agree that this standard should be issued as final without re-exposure. So again, a roll call, please.
Thank you, Suzanne. I'll do the roll call. Anna Nefedova.
Approve.
Anne Lindsay.
Approve.
Charles Chu.
Approve.
Chilandra De Silva.
Approved.
Deborah Ing.
Approve.
Felipe Martinez Rodriguez.
Approve.
Isadora Diaz Heredia.
Approved.
Jeff Robertson.
Approve.
Rebecca Coriat.
Approved.
Suzanne Stormer.
Approved.
Tomu Machiba.
I approve.
And Yang Dong.
Approve.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And then I was so eager to move on to the next, the GRI 105 on remuneration and working time. So again, Bastian, I would like to ask you in your role as Chief of Standards, what is your view on whether due process has been met on the development of the GRI 107?
Thank you, Suzanne. Also for this standard, I can confirm that the topic standard has moved through all the relevant process steps. And from the standards team's perspective, there is a clear verdict that the due process has been followed for all steps.
Thank you. And with that, can I now ask GSSB members to formally vote if you agree that this standard should be approved? And Jill, over to you for roll call.
Thank you, Suzanne. May I then ask if you approve the GRI 105 remuneration and working time 2027? Anna Nefedova.
Approve.
Anne Lindsay.
Approve.
Charles Chew.
Approve.
Chalundra De Silva.
Approved.
Deborah Ing.
Sorry, approve.
Thank you, Deborah. Felipe Martinez Rodriguez.
Approve.
Isadora Diaz Heredia.
Approve.
Jeff Robertson.
Approve.
Rebecca Curiat.
Approved.
Thank you. Suzanne Stormer.
Approved.
Tomu Machiba.
I approve.
And Yang Dong.
Yes, approve.
Thank you, everyone.
And then the final round. Bastian, are there any significant changes between the exposure draft and the final approved standard that would require re-exposure?
No, there are no significant changes that would require re-exposure. Just to say that on the slide here, the question is not complete, but the decision is. So it's really about re-exposure not being needed at this point. And I can confirm from the standards team perspective that there have been no significant changes that would require re-exposure.
Thank you for that. And with that, can I then finally ask the GSSB members to vote if you agree that this standard should be issued as final without re-exposure? And over to you, Jill.
Thank you. I'll do the roll call. Anna Nefedova.
I approve.
Anne Lindsay.
Approve.
Charles Chew.
Approve.
Chalundra De Silva.
Approved.
Deborah Ing.
Approved.
Felipe Martinez Rodriguez.
Approve.
Isadora Diaz Heredia.
Approved.
Jeff Robertson.
Approve.
Rebecca Curiat.
Approved.
Suzanne Stormer.
Approved.
Tomu Machiba.
I approve.
And Yang Dong.
Approve.
Thank you, everyone.
And with that, then we can also withdraw, pending the formal approval by GSSB members, the withdrawal of GRI 41 Employment 2016. So final roll call, please.
Thank you. I'll do the roll call. Anna Nefedova.
Approve.
Anne Lindsay.
Approve.
Charles Chew.
Approve.
Chalundra De Silva.
Approved.
Deborah Ing.
I approve.
Felipe Martinez Rodriguez.
Approve.
Galia Tsankova. Oh no, excuse me, Galia, I had to leave the call. Isadora Diaz Heredia.
Approved.
Jeff Robertson.
Approve.
Rebecca Curiat.
Approved.
Thank you. Suzanne Stormer.
Approved.
Tomu Machiba.
I approve.
And Yang Dong.
Approved.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. And with that, I would invite either Harold or Bastian to speak
I can speak
about
to this
publication
quickly.
date.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So as Harold introduced during the last meeting, we're looking at a proposed publication date for 27, and that still stands. So making them publicly available. We have to align publication dates, among other things, well, between the different labor standards, and I'll come to that in a moment, but also look at alignment with the textiles and apparel sector and financial services sector standards that we are going to approve later this year. And if we move to the next slide, related to this, is also the decision on the effective date, which we're postponing to one of the next meetings, likely the September meeting at this point, for more detailed discussion. We've presented last meeting 2 options for that. I think based on recent changes also in terms of capacity that we have overall for standard setting, we are now reconsidering how we can bring a first set of labor standards to the market, while we might have to postpone some of the additional work or delay some of the additional work that is still pending. These are ongoing discussions, so we don't have a solution for this to present at the moment, but wanted to advise that we will bring a proposal for effective dates and also reconfiguration of the scope of the first set of labor standards that we're issuing to you in one of the upcoming meetings. Again, we're aiming for September at this stage, but it could also be the October meeting, depending on how internal discussions progress. When we have concluded on the effective date for the already approved labor standards, and importantly, 2 more labor standards that we are in preparation with the team for approval in the 4th quarter this year, then we can package things up and have a consistent approach to the effective date. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, again, compliment to the team for a great job and really feeling a need for better disclosures in this space, reflecting, as Anne was saying, the changes in the labor market that we've seen over the last years. So can we proceed to the next agenda item? And so this is where we would invite you, Helga, to join or to speak to the compact sector standards that we are here taking for the final approval based on the information that you have shared as pre-read for us.
Thank you, Susanne. I understand Bastian will be doing an opening, and then I can continue presenting the work.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So I think we're now at the stage that we're moving, after many discussions with you, the project proposal for the compact sector standards. We had the chance to discuss in private session, evaluate also feedback received from the other governance body members, follow up specifically, and I have to thank Helga and the team for that, with individual GSB members that had additional input on this proposal. And we, from the standards team perspective, feel comfortable that we've now actually ironed out all the open questions, and we now feel ready to start a project, a pilot project, and that enables us to test this new proposition, this evolution, if you want to call it like that, of the sector standards approach, that responds to some of the market developments and also capacity and that the constraints that we are facing. So we are now, with the proposal and all the documentation that Helga and the team prepared, ready to move to approval, and will then start to update you on next steps of implementation. So Helga, please go ahead.
Thank you. So yes, for this session then, I would like to give you a a recap of where we are with this project. As you know, then this is the final approval of the compact sector standards. I also would like to share a bit of explain the changes that went through from the draft project proposal to the final proposal, and a couple of considerations that are relevant for the future work and implementation of these compact sector standards related to food and beverages. And I would like to thank the colleagues in the sector team for their support in bringing this project until here, and in particular my colleague Julia Ontañón, with whom we work along developing this project. So if we go to the next slide, please, thank you. So we have as a background, so these compact sector standards are the follow-up of the work that we did in terms of a review that we undertook in 2024. It was one of the recommendations that we further elaborated with the GSSB. We had different sessions where you gave us your feedback and your guidance on how to move this forward. That resulted in the draft project proposal that was shared with you in November, discussed. We made further refinements based on your feedback, and we shared that with the supervisory board and the stakeholder council. And as a reminder, the objective of this work of the compact sector standards is to be able to have a response to the market that is quicker and that responds to sector-specific needs in guidance in terms of, in particular, identification of impacts for sustainability reporting. So the compact sector standards will outline the profile of the sector, will identify topics that are likely to be material for organizations in the sector. This includes a brief description of impacts plus references, and also a link to the relevant GRI topic standards for reporting in each of the topics. A key important difference with a fully fledged sector standard is that it will not include additional sector reporting. Now, in the next slide, we have the main changes compared between the draft project proposal and the final sector proposal. Overall, the supervisory board and the stakeholder council gave us broad support for the introduction of these compact sector standards. They appreciated the efforts to bring something to the market quicker, that would be an easier adoption for smaller organizations, and at the same time that it would fill the gaps that exist now in terms of some jurisdictions for sustainability reporting. They also highlighted the importance that these compact sector standards have the same status as a fully fledged sector standard in the GRI reporting model. This is basically what's described in GRI 1 and GRI 3. There were a couple of observations that they did, in particular related to the role of the GSSB in the selection of the peer review group, and also to ensure that we have a really robust multi-stakeholder approach, and also about the clarity that we should be giving to preparers and information users about the transition between a compact sector standard and a fully fledged sector standard. So here you see the two main topics in terms of the peer review. As background, the peer review is the group that is going to support the content development of the compact sector standards. And in the draft proposal, it was noted that the GSSB will give us feedback for the composition of this group. Now we are including that the GSSB will approve the peer review, so you can ensure also that the multi-stakeholder input into the compact sector standards continue. Then in the right-hand side, you see the additions to the final proposal connected to the transition between a compact sector standard and a full sector standards. So we have now a reference in the project objectives about the GSSB reserving the right to develop a fully fledged sector standard once a compact sector standard has been issued, but also clarity that in each of the sector standards, we are going to have a footnote that clarifies this again, that it may be that in the future, a fully fledged sector standard is developed. Now, to give you an idea, we shared some of this in the November meeting about what's the difference on how the look between a fully fledged sector standard and a compact sector standard. We can see in the next slide how a topic in, for example, GRI 13 looks like for waste. So you have on the left a topic description that includes the impacts, description of the impacts in the sector by the different activities and actors. And then on the right-hand side, you see the reporting, of course, anchored in the management of the material topic, 3.3, and then the list of topic standard disclosures that are relevant. You can see also under 306.3 that there's the additional sector reporting. So this is what is not going to be included in the compact sector standards. And we close the topic with references and resources. Now, in the next slide, you see how this would look like in a compact sector standard. So you see that is much shorter in terms of the project description. And then for the reporting, we of course continue to make reference to the management of the material topic, disclosure 3.3. But then for the topic standards, we will just list the relevant topic standards and then invite the reader to have a look at the respective topic standard to have a look at which disclosures may be relevant for reporting. And we, of course, will include references and resources. Now, in the next slide, we see some considerations that are important and relevant for the food and beverages sector. So, as you may recall, the GSSB approved a final project proposal for the development of a sector standards for food and beverages in February 2022. This project had to be put on hold due to resource availability, but now we have secured funding for this project. And we would like to suggest that we use this sector to develop the first compact sector standard before we go for a first cluster. And learnings of developing this compact sector standard for food and beverages can, of course, be used to inform the future development of compact sector standards. We can include here issues that have been brought up in previous meetings, like the importance to test the relevance of this concept with reporters and other stakeholders, or to test the feasibility as well. So we can definitely do that during the public comment period. I'll pause here. That was a succinct presentation, since we have had these discussions on this topic in several occasions. Before we go to decisions, we'd like to then revert to you, Susanne, in case there are questions or comments before we go to the decisions.
Thank you very much, Helga. Now, Gillian, I have carefully been looking through and I see no hands. Now I see 1, 2, several. Okay, good. Anne, you were first.
Thank you very much. And thanks for your presentation, Gelka. It's really just a tweak for consistency. But I noticed in the project proposal, lines 41 and 42, and also in the other document, we talk about excluding detailed sector-specific reporting. But as you've mentioned and elsewhere in the documents, and as you showed in your presentation, actually we're talking about excluding additional sector-specific reporting. So I note that you've already got that in a couple of places. I suggest it's useful to have that additional consistency throughout the document, because obviously some people are going to be reporting in a sector-specific way using the topic standards. So I think just adding that in would add a little clarity. Thanks.
Thank you. Noted. Thank you.
Eagle eye. Thank you so much, Anne. Good observation. Tomo, please.
Yeah, and Helga, thank you so much for pushing this project forward. And really, I would like to congratulate and all your effort and putting in this. Just just final things. It's like a line 141 of the page 7, and says a compact sector standards will not include disclosure from GRI topic standards, which I don't understand what this means. Just for clarification. Thank you.
So we will have the reference to the topic standard, so that then the reader will need to go and see the topic standard to see which disclosures are relevant and to report on them. So we will not list them. What this helps us to do is that it's easier then to update, as we have now several reviews. Then basically we wouldn't need to update compact standards when there's a particular topic standard that has been updated. Also, we would not include them in the compact sector standard, because it may be be giving the impression that we actually went through a conversation and a filter about which of those are sector specific, and that is not part of the scope of this project at the moment. It's just basically identifying which topics are likely to be material, but not which disclosures.
Okay, thank you.
Julendra, please.
Yes, thanks, Suzanne. Helga, thank you very much for this. This looks really good. I was just thinking something that came out during a conversation actually last week with one of the assurance providers, and something that came out was for a conglomerate, for a group of companies that have multiple sectors. Would we be able to give guidance as to whether a certain conglomerate should or should not use a sector standard depending on, because what happens, Helga, is when you have a holding company, the holding company is not in the sector, but its subsidiaries are. And then what is the application of it is a bit of a gray area at the moment.
Yes, and I think that is also the case for sector standards in general.
Yes,
no,
yes.
so it's not particular to compact sector standards.
No, yeah.
So what they need to go is through these sector standards, help them to identify which are the topics that are likely to be material, depending on the activities and the sectors that they're active. And of course, then they will need to define thresholds, and also then make an assessment of which are the topics that are material for them that they need to report on. But we believe that given this, you have the topic descriptions that describe the connection of the activities with the impacts that can help the organizations to understand where they are, and what is relevant for them to report.
Okay.
Okay, so then we can go to the next slide if there are no more questions. And before the decision, I just want to highlight that following also the discussion in November about the classification list of sectors, and also on the website, we had a very old document describing the sector program. We would like to update those documents. That is also you have received an item on that. And following this discussion, those changes will be made, and the decision and the documents will be updated. So then I invite you to make the roll.
Thank you so much. And then I have the privilege to ask the GSSB if you approve that we now proceed with the sector standard project for compact sector standards as per this description. And we would need another roll call, please.
Suzanne, we do not actually need a roll call for this,
good.
as it's a project, so we can just have a majority.
I keep learning. Okay, can we see hands of approval? That looks like a majority to me. So here we are. Really pleased to see this this project proceeding. Great that we have funding for it, and also that it is definitely filling a need as we've seen in the research. So this is good, and we look forward to following the process as we go along.
Susan, perhaps just to make this explicit, because the previous decision was about approving the final proposal of the compact sector standard. This decision is about the food and beverages, which was approved as a full-fledged sector standard, and now we would like to have your approval so it can be developed as a compact sector standard.
For a pilot.
Yes, exactly.
Good. And thank you for clarifying that. I'm sorry, I realize I moved too fast. It's my eagerness to see this this come true. So then we need a formal approval that we go with food and beverages as the first compact sector standard, and being cognizant of the fact that there's also work going on with GSSB in their sector standard. So an opportunity for us to collaborate, and at the same time, we know that there would be no specific sector standards developed by EFRAG. So this would be one that we can develop and use as a pilot for guidance. So I'll stop talking. Did we get formal approvals of this last item? Food and beverages as the first compact sector standard? I see nods.
I saw a few hands go past.
Okay,
Yeah.
here we go
Here
with
they
the
come.
hands. Yes. Good. So my apologies for rushing through, but I'm excited about this as we all are, and also I guess the heat is just getting at me. So so that means that we're actually ahead of our schedule. Would there be any other business to be raised at this point? I see and hear none. With that, I presume that we can close the public session of this meeting. Jill, will you confirm?
Yes, I'll close it and then let you know when we're offline.
Thank you so much.